So when thinking about cultural competence, for us, we really think about honoring the students, their identities, and what they come in with. And oftentimes, when we're honoring what the learners have to say, it actually forces us to be reflective practitioners. It forces us to actually be able to listen and respond to the learners and what it is that they offer us. And then knowing that we can value what it is that they bring into the space. I'm reminded of a time when a learner came into the classroom and she had gone for a walk, and on her way to school, she picked up a pine cone. And so she came to me and she said, "Miss Bino, you're the color of a pine cone." So that was a perfect opportunity for us to have conversations around skin color. So what we did was we translated what she had said, because I was in a French immersion context. So we translated what she had said, and we had posed it to the classroom. So we talked about the fact that I might have looked like a pine cone, and we asked, what do you think? So the learners started saying, well, I do think you look like a pine cone, but I think you also look like brown sugar. So they started bringing in all of these different spices and ingredients that were found in the home that spoke to skin color. So what we did was we offered opportunities to actually read texts that spoke to skin color and who we were. So we read books like Moi Je m'aime. We also read Chocolate Me, but unfortunately, because we couldn't translate it, it was one of the dramatic arts teacher who actually read that text for the learners. And out of it came so much learning. So they started asking questions about their skin color, they started inquiring about who they were, and we took that as an opportunity to just really explore who they were and use culture as a vehicle for learning. So what we did was we ended up we tried to engage parents in the process, and we asked learners to go home and look for ingredients that spoke to who they were. So they ended up coming in with like little vials full of different ingredients. So there was Rice Krispies, there were brown sugar, chocolate cocoa, all these different ingredients that spoke to who we were. And after reading Chocolate Me, we kind of created our own little poem around our skin colors and our different skin tones. And what I realized was I was looking in the classroom to see whether or not I had opportunities for learners to actually represent who they were. And as I looked around in the classroom environment, I realized that there were certain elements missing. So in conversation with my ECE, we kind of talked about having things like mirrors in the classroom so the learners would be able to see themselves. We started thinking about whether or not we had crayons that represented all of the skin colors of the students in the classroom. So what we started doing was we started collecting things that we knew would speak to the learners. What was really shocking was, I think in the beginning of the year, some of the learners who were children of color would often represent themselves as being white. And so I knew that these were issues that were deeply rooted in understandings of colonialism. And for those learners, I really wanted them to embrace who they were, and I wanted them to self-affirm themselves. And so what we ended up doing was we started explicitly, intentionally having conversations about skin color. So as I modeled, so I'd do writing, I would model for them what it looked like to actually see whether or not something represented my skin color. So we would use crayons and color and see like, oh, is this Miss Bino's skin color? Is this Miss Bino's skin color? So we'd actually do that with one another. And what was really interesting was in the beginning of the year, they might have represented themselves differently, but by the end of the year, they were accurately representing their skin color. So oftentimes what I would see was they would be in front of the mirror and they'd be looking at themselves saying, I don't know if that's your skin color, to one another. Maybe you should try this one. And they would kind of test it out on paper. One student in particular, by the end of the year, what I noticed was in the beginning of the year, she had straight hair, even though she had curly hair. Her skin was white, even though she was brown skin. But by the end of the year, because we were having intentional conversations around our identity, she ended up representing her mom having a hijab, and her hair became curly and her skin got darker. And I knew that it made a difference in terms of what we did in the classroom. Having those purposeful conversations really changed the trajectory of the way in which they viewed themselves.